just after midnight on July 5th. And it was a similar situation, a young couple in a car, guy uses a gun and gets away with it. But he stepped it up. He made a phone call and reported his own crime.
This is Citizen True Crime Podcast. The citizen investigator is breaking the true crime genre. Instead of following the real detectives, this series follows the stories of real, everyday people from all walks of life, who for unique reasons are motivated to solve the most mysterious and captivating criminal cases in the world. Citizen True Crime Podcast is hosted by me, documentary filmmaker and producer Trey Borzoleri. On this episode of Citizen, this is the Zodiac speaking. We move from the Lake Herman Road crime scene and follow the citizen investigators to the next Zodiac Killer crime scene, Blue Rock Springs in Vallejo, California, where the Zodiac Killer attacked Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau just after midnight on July 5th, 1969. It's just before midnight on July 4th, 2019, on the 50th anniversary of the crime. We are talking with those who have gathered to honor and remember the victims.
My name is Thomas Atkinson. I went to high school with Darlene Ferrin, the lady who was killed here 50 years ago. She seemed like a very outgoing person, very friendly person. That's what I remembered about her. I'm just curious about them, you know. It's just something like this big, it happens here this long time ago, and yet there's no conclusion to the case, you know. This case and the other cases involved with it. I knew Darlene from that class I had with her, and that was it. And you always just sort of wonder, you know, things like an unsolved murder, you know. It'd be interesting to see it solved. I know, like, I was living in Seattle area when the Green River killings were solved, and they thought that would never be solved up there. They'd totally given up on that, and out of the blue they solved it. So maybe this case here, maybe it's possible too at this late date. So.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, I'm very interested, you know, to see what it would be, you know. Yeah. Who knows, maybe it's somebody I knew. I don't know. I have no idea.
Right.
Yeah.
The clock strikes exactly midnight. Two men appear out of the darkness of night and walk into my camera frame. They are Darlene Ferrin's brothers, Frank and Leo Sunin.
My name is Frank Arthur Sunin. I came down from Nevada. I live in Nevada. I came down, and I didn't want my brother to. He was going to come out here. There was going to be something coming out here, right? I didn't want him to be there alone. So I came down here pretty much for his support, and we went to the grave and saw Darlene's, you know, and put flowers on her little tomb, you know. And I'm here for support. Love my sister with all my heart. Really, really love her. And I miss her. Even it's been 50 years, I still miss her. To this day, I think about her every day.
Where were you when it happened?
Okay, where I was at home. Darlene came by around 10:15 with a box of fireworks. And our mama got us out of bed. She got us out of bed and said, "Hey, your sister's here. She wants to do some fireworks with you. So come on." And we just did a whole bunch of fireworks prior to that. So I said, "Okay." It was great. We ran out of bed, me and my sisters, and we ran out of bed, and we're happy as can be, you know. And we did some fireworks until about 10:30 that night. Okay, somewhere around there, you know. My sister gave me a hug and a kiss. She said, "Be good and do your homework, and I'll see you tomorrow." I says, "I love you, Darlene." She goes, "I love you too." And then that's it. And then I left. I mean, I went to bed, and she left. That was the last time I saw her.
So what can we do to get this thing solved? What do you so many people feel like that with Darlene, that because she may have recognized, through what Mike Majot had said, that maybe she did recognize who it was.
I believe personally, I believe that she did know the killer. I personally believe, I don't know if my brother actually agrees with me, but I think she really did know the killer. I don't think it was just a random killer killing out there.
Sure it
me
is.
Personally.
It was a serial killer, Frank.
This is Darlene's other brother, Leo.
Serial killers just pick on anybody they can get opportunity to. I know serial killers. I've talked to a lot of serial killers. I've been around a lot of them. Okay, I know you hear side strangler. Okay, he lived right next door to me. He had talked about how he did women, how he suffocated them and do this and do that with them. You know? I met a whole bunch of serial killers in my life. All of them said they weren't going to stop until they got caught or something happened to them. They would never stop. Because I talked to Angelo Bruno all the time. He was saying, I wouldn't stop until I got caught. And no one teaches us stopping. That's what serial killers are. You know? I've been with serial killers. I've been right next door to them and shit, so I know what they are. I know how they talk. I know what they're thinking. Everything. I've talked to them for years in prison.
The thing about it is if you think you got something going on, run with it, and we'll back you 100%.
Yeah.
Because we would love to have this solved. Now you don't think it was that Lee, Arthur, Allen, and
Krosky, and all these other motherfuckers.
You feel like it's completely unsolved and that it could be...
It'll never be solved, man.
Yeah.
Probably not. Now Galkowski's dead.
Yes, he's not the list.
Galkowski dead. He could have been.
We went to visit him too.
You did?
Yeah. Me, two of my sisters, and my sister, and my wife.
I was against it. because I was working. I was working the swing shift that night. I'm trying to talk. Just let's plan our attack. Don't rush into anything, right? Just plan our attack. And as soon as I went to work, family went down and jammed up Galkowski in Daly City or South San Francisco.
Yeah, South San Francisco.
What was it like?
Well, my wife, she got very. My wife's like, she's a hippie too, so she understands all this free spirit shit and spirits and all that. She felt very unpleasant. She felt evil in the house. We knocked on the door. Me and my wife was down there drinking sake, because right by the Japanese district. She was down there drinking sake. Finally, he came home the back way. And his sister was sitting in front of his house waiting for him to come in. He came to the back way. And his sister was sitting in front of his house waiting for him to come in. He came to the back way. Then she seen the lights on, and she came and got us, and we all went to the door and knocked on the door. And he goes, I've been expecting you.
No, we found out about Galkowski. He was doing snuff movies. He was making snuff movies. He was making.
But you guys don't think he was involved?
No, he wasn't involved.
You don't think so? I'm not 100%.
No.
The handwriting in the match, we went through the whole living room of his house. There were no cryptids, no cutouts, no nothing, no scissors. Anything had to cut out what he did.
How did he react to you guys? Like, what was his... Did you ask him pointed questions?
I did. Everybody almost left. I was the last one in his apartment. I'm turning around. I said, man, I'll be back. He's Zodiac. I'll be back. You better hope you're Zodiac, man. And I left, and next thing I knew, I heard he was dead. But he never...
You think so?
He never said anything that
started incriminating, no. He didn't say he knew Darlene, it wasn't Blair, or none of that shit. You know, so the police cleared him. But you gotta understand. And the police, in 1969, in a town there, and 54,000 people in it. Small, twice as small as Benicia now.
Wow.
In for 54,000 people. So the police should be able to find. He's going on Vallejo killing people. 54,000 people in Vallejo. He's writing in the newspaper. He's sitting in the Southern Cisco newspapers. He's killing a person inside the cab driver, Paul Stein. He's killed him. Was like Pearson killed him. But last spring, he's like him in the road. So he wanted credit for all that. Crosby didn't seem like a person that would want to do that. Seemed like a person that would do that. Plus, he was clear.
I asked Ken Noilo from the Napa Sheriff.
Yeah.
Dr. Ken Noilo says I've already looked into Garkowski, and he says he's cleared.
What could people do more to help this case get solved?
They're doing all they can now.
Yeah.
Honestly, what they're doing is fabulous.
Good.
To keep my sister's murder, the Zodiac alive, people's minds, people's hearts.
What you're doing right there, continue doing it.
Okay.
That's all we can ask.
100%.
That's all we can ask.
Well, God bless you guys.
Never did go by. Yeah. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
Just never did go by.
On September 27, 2019, the citizen investigators visited the grave of Cecilia Shepard, who was killed in the Lake Berryessa attack on September 27, 1969. Lake Berryessa is in Napa, California. This is the voice of Tom Voigt, founder of ZodiacKiller.com.
Where is it now? It's over here? I've been here. I was here 15 years ago. So Cecilia Shepard was actually from Southern California, but she's buried here in the Bay Area in Napa County. And the reason is because the day before she drove up here, the day before she was killed or attacked that led to her death, she was attacked on September 27th and she died on the 29th. And the day before she drove up here, she was with a friend to retrieve some belongings, and she actually kind of had a premonition, according to her sister. Her sister told me that Cecilia mentioned before driving away that when she ever died, she wanted to be buried at the cemetery in St. Helena, because that was close to where she graduated college, and she loved that little town, St. Helena, and she thought that cemetery was beautiful. And then before she drove away, she ran back and hugged her mom a second time. And I guess her mom said she'd never done that before. So they were kind of convinced that she kind of knew that something bad was going to happen to her. But that's why she's buried in St. Helena and not Southern California, where she was from.
The group moves on to the exact spot where Zodiac attacked Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell in daylight. This is Tom Voigt.
We are at the Lake Berryessa crime scene on the exact 50th anniversary from when somebody attacked two young people that were picnicking out here. And the guy could still be alive, so I don't want to alarm anybody, but keep an eye out. It happened like right around here too. They were on the lake shore, and a man in a costume and a foot-long knife started stabbing him. So right around where, yeah, right in here. The oak trees were really prominent, and they were used as shade by the victims. And then one of the oak trees, that's where the Zodiac hid behind to put his costume on. The Lake Berryessa attack was about this time of evening, almost exactly. Cecilia and Brian had known each other for years. They were on again, off again, boyfriend, girlfriend, and things were heating up again when Cecilia came up the day before she was attacked. She came up from Southern California to retrieve some belongings that she had gone to college here nearby. And she was supposed to leave the next day to go back to Southern California for good, but of course she was attacked and died 2 days later. So they might be married now if that hadn't happened. But yeah, so it's an unsolved case, and it's thought to be, until recently, the only knife attack that Zodiac ever did. He was always a gun guy, but for this one he used a knife.
An identikit was used with witnesses to make a sketch of the suspect seen at Lake Berryessa. An identikit includes over 100 acetate sheets with drawings of different facial features that were used to identify criminals based on eyewitness accounts. The sheets include a wide array of lips, noses, eyes, eyebrows, age lines, hair, beards, glasses, and headgear. They were laid on top of each other to create a final reconstruction of the perpetrator's face.
So it was basically the Mr. Potato Head concept. So nobody actually drew. Yeah, nobody drew that guy. That was Mr. Potato Head, based on what the sunbathers saw.
This is the voice of a local resident.
I grew up in the area. This was my boogeyman, the thing that happened that time. It's an unsolved case here that is a serial killer type before there were serial killers was coined. It's just a case that's local, that's unsolved, and has some interesting case factors that I would like to see solved.
Tom reflects on his time investigating this case.
I don't know why, but 25 years ago, it was almost as if I woke up and I had a point to existing. I haven't been able to stop since then. My mom used to think she was concerned when I first, didn't really know anything about Zodiac. And so when I took this interest, she was kind of concerned, didn't understand it. And now, after 20 some years, if she meets somebody who doesn't know who the Zodiac is, she thinks they're weird. A lot of the amateur detectives have contributed information that really has advanced the case, not to a conclusion, but that's always possibly around the corner. There are people that think that the Zodiac was Clint Eastwood. I'm not kidding. There are people who think the Zodiac was D.B. Cooper, the famous skyjacker. There are people that think Zodiac, Ted Cruz, the politician. There are a lot of weird people, And I started a website, so now they know who to email. And they know where to go to show up to meet, other people. Most of these people are really cool, but there are some nut cases. One of them got my event canceled late last year, a 50th anniversary gathering, had to cancel it because a nutcase was going to show up with and kill people. People that are delusional, they think they know who the Zodiac is, but no one will believe them because we're all, in on a conspiracy or something like that. And they can get really crazy.
On October 11th, 1969, San Francisco cab driver Paul Stine is executed by the Zodiac Killer. The murder occurred at the corner of Washington and Cherry Streets in Presidio Heights, a very wealthy section of town. Tom and the citizen investigators have gathered to honor Paul Stine. Here is Tom standing near the exact spot of the crime.
Well, I have some probably not unexpected news. So the same lunatic that had me forced to cancel the 50th gathering last December is back apparently out of the booby hatch, and I didn't know he has an account at my discussion forum, and he's announced just within the last 10 minutes some new threats for here tonight. He's a obviously long-term mental patient. He thinks his father is a Zodiac, and he thinks that all of us are in a pedophile ring and helping keep the Zodiac free from being apprehended. And he made some threats last December. Fortunately, they caught him and put him in a facility, but he's out, and I guess he's going to target us here. Posted stuff at the message board, and he's also sent me private messages, and I've also been alerted from other people at the message board who saw what he was posting and have independently contacted me. So I don't know if he's planning on being here at the exact time of the crime 50 years ago, or if he's going to show up any minute, but I have to at least tell people so they can leave if they want, because the last anniversaries have had protection. We've had protection even at Lake Berryessa. We had Ranger there, we had cops at Lake Herman Road, there were cops at Blue Rock Springs, but nobody from SFPD is going to be here.
What time is it now? What time is it?
9:28 p.m. So, this is getting pretty close to the crime scene time. Good to see you again. So, I've got some kind of bad news. Well, we had a plan for tonight, but do you remember last Christmas? He's out again. So my phone was just blowing up and he could be anywhere posting from his phone, but he's threatening everybody again. I'm going to be leaving soon. I would suggest everyone else, well, you've got balls of steel, so you'll probably stay here. Would you help me spread the word?
Yeah.
It's kind of, this is worse than last year. So we're going to have to change everything. Okay. Do you remember were you in the loop? Hey, Cindy. Were you in the loop last Christmas when that nut threatened us? And
yes, How are you? Heard about that.
He's just starting again. He's out of the hospital, and I didn't know he had an account at my discussion forum. So he started posting 15 minutes ago about what he's going to do to everybody here.
Great.
And he's been sending me private messages, and he's been sending other people private messages. I don't know what he looks like. I know his name. I'm not going to hang around.
So
He could be posting from he could be on his phone in one of these cars. So yeah, we're not going to, we were going to do some stuff here and we're not going to know because.
Tension escalated when the person making threats at the group arrived at the scene.
The lunatic threatened to come here tonight and do damage. So he's here. I guess that he's not a fan of mine. So I did bring mace. Angie originally got me a pink one, but I said, no, black is more foreboding.
On the next episode of Citizen True Crime Podcast, this is the Zodiac speaking. We stay with the citizen investigators in Presidio Heights, San Francisco, the location of Zodiac's murder of cab driver Paul Stein. For Last in Line Pictures, I'm Trey Borzelleri, and this is Citizen True Crime Podcast. For additional content from this episode, visit the Last in Line Pictures YouTube channel. Search at Last in Line Pictures.